You don't get it. Tyler actually cares about me. He wants to make me feel special for once. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. But that's exactly what I told myself as I stared at my phone, heart hammering in my chest. My hands were shaking, not from excitement, but from the mix of fear and exhilaration. Today was supposed to be just another Valentine's Day, a boring one, like every year. But suddenly, it felt like the universe was offering me a chance to finally be prioritized, to finally be noticed. I'd been dating Logan for almost 3 years. We lived together in a small apartment in downtown Chicago, and for the most part, life was comfortable. I wasn't ungrateful. Logan took care of the bills, the rent, and basically kept our lives afloat while I was hustling as a freelance graphic designer. Money was tight sometimes, sure, but he was good to me. Or at least, I thought he was. But recently, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Logan worked long hours in tech, always glued to his laptop, answering emails at midnight, completely absorbed in his world. I tried to tell myself it was fine, that this was what adult relationships looked like, but on the inside, I was starving for attention, for someone to make me feel alive. Then Tyler came along. We'd met in an online gaming community a few months ago, nothing serious, just laughs and messages at odd hours. But Tyler had a way of making me feel seen. He remembered small details about my life, complimented things Logan never noticed, and, for the first time in months, I felt like I mattered to someone. That's why, when he jokingly mentioned spending Valentine's Day together, I didn't think twice. I booked the flight. I booked the hotel. And I did it using Logan's credit card. He had added me as an authorized user 6 months ago, so I could rent a car for work trips when my credit score was a mess. He promised it would be temporary, and I always assumed it was fine. After all, it wasn't like I was doing anything wrong. Now, as I sat in the airport lounge, I could feel the weight of my decisions pressing down. I was nervous, yes, but also exhilarated. Tyler was waiting for me in Austin. He said he wanted to make this Valentine's weekend memorable. And for once, I was going to let someone put me first. My phone buzzed repeatedly, but I ignored it. Logan had called a few times, and I could hear the frustration in his messages. He probably sensed that something was off, but I needed this. I needed to feel wanted. I needed someone who could remind me I wasn't invisible. I didn't expect the guilt to hit me like it did. Sitting there, my fingers hovering over the screen, I realized what I was doing could destroy everything: our apartment, our shared life, the trust that Logan had placed in me. But the thought of staying in the same routine, feeling invisible, scared me more than the risk. I took a deep breath, staring at the gate number on the screen. Today wasn't about Logan. Today was about me. Tyler had shown me a glimpse of excitement, and for the first time in a long time, I was ready to chase it if it meant stepping into something I knew I might regret later. The moment I stepped off the plane in Austin, a strange thrill ran through me. The warm air hit my face, and I felt free in a way I hadn't in months. My heart was racing, partly from excitement, partly from nerves. This was it, my escape, my chance to finally be someone's priority. I grabbed my suitcase and stepped toward the shuttle, scanning the crowd for a glimpse of Tyler. My mind kept drifting back to Logan. The nagging guilt in the back of my head whispered that I was making a terrible mistake, but I pushed it aside. For once, I wanted to feel alive, not guilty. When Tyler finally appeared at the hotel lobby, smiling as if nothing could be wrong in the world. My stomach twisted in both relief and unease. He was taller than I imagined, with a confident swagger that made me feel both safe and exhilarated. "Hey, Sabrina," he said, his voice warm. "I didn't think you'd actually make it." I did. I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. My hands were clammy, and I fiddled with the strap of my bag. I needed this. I just needed to feel. Wanted. He nodded, understanding flashing in his eyes. "You deserve it," he said softly. "Everyone deserves to feel special sometimes." We spent the next few hours wandering the city, laughing at random street performers and sharing stories I hadn't told anyone else. I felt an intoxicating mix of exhilaration and guilt. Every text from Logan that I imagined in my mind made me flinch. But Tyler's presence was comforting in a way I couldn't explain. He listened. He cared. He made me feel like someone actually saw me. That night, as we checked into the hotel, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the mirror. I barely recognized myself. There was a spark in my eyes, a sense of rebellion I hadn't felt in years. Yet, under it all, a quiet voice reminded me that this wasn't just harmless fun. It was using someone else's trust to chase my own thrill. Tyler seemed to sense my unease. "Hey," he said, leaning against the counter. "It's okay. You don't have to justify anything to me. Just be here now." I nodded, forcing a smile. But as I lay in the hotel bed later, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts kept spinning. Logan, our apartment, the credit card, everything I'd taken for granted. My chest felt tight. I wanted this weekend to be perfect, but I also knew the truth could catch up with me at any moment. Sleep didn't come easily. Every sound in the hotel room seemed amplified, every car horn, every distant shout. My phone buzzed constantly with missed calls I hadn't made, imagined texts from Logan, and warnings in my mind. And yet, even with the guilt gnawing at me, I couldn't shake the thrill of feeling alive again. Tyler's laugh echoed in my mind, and I clung to it like a lifeline by morning. The city felt different, brighter, more alive. Tyler suggested we grab coffee from a small cafe he knew, and as we walked down the sunlit streets, I felt a strange sense of possibility. Maybe this weekend could be a fresh start, or at least a brief escape from the life that felt too controlled, too predictable. But the rational part of me kept whispering, "This is temporary. This is dangerous." Logan trusted me. He let me into his life, his finances, and I was betraying him. I pushed the thought away, telling myself it was for my own happiness. For the first time in months, I laughed freely, and Tyler's eyes sparkled as he did the same. That afternoon, as we explored a quirky little art gallery tucked in a side street, my phone buzzed again. Not with Logan's name this time, but something else, a notification from the credit card app. My stomach dropped. I knew instantly what it was. Someone had noticed. And suddenly, the thrill, the excitement, the rebellion, it all turned icy cold. I froze when I saw the notifications flooding my phone. Flight alerts, hotel confirmations, all coming through Logan's card app. My heart raced, and a cold sweat broke out across my forehead. For the first time that weekend, fear replaced the thrill. Tyler noticed my sudden silence. "Sabrina, what's wrong?" I shook my head, forcing a laugh. "Nothing, just a work email," I lied. But inside, panic was climbing fast. I knew Logan had to know. There was no way he wouldn't notice. And when he did, God, I wasn't ready for that. By mid-afternoon, my phone rang incessantly. Every ring made my stomach twist. Finally, I answered, my voice trembling. "Sabrina," Logan said calmly at first, then the edge crept in. "Where are you?" I swallowed hard. Tyler and we're out for the day. Coffee, then walking around." There was silence on the line. Then his voice, low and controlled. I can hear airport announcements in the background. "Explain to me why you booked a flight to Austin using my card." My chest tightened. My hands shook. I needed a break. Someone who actually cared about me. "You stole my credit card to fly across the country for a romantic weekend with someone else," he said, each word slicing through me. "Do you even realize what you've done?" Tears pricked my eyes, and I felt myself crumpling. "Tyler, he makes me feel special." Special. Logan's laugh was bitter, incredulous. "You think using my money to cheat on me makes you special? You're stranded in another state, and this is your excuse." My throat tightened. I wanted to scream, to argue, to justify it somehow, but the words stuck. Tyler's presence, which had felt safe hours ago, now felt suffocating. The exhilaration had evaporated, leaving only dread. The next few hours were a blur. Logan called the credit card company, froze the card, changed passwords, removed me as an authorized user. Every message I sent went unanswered, every call ignored. I watched helplessly as my carefully constructed weekend crumbled into chaos. I tried calling Tyler for comfort, but even he seemed uneasy, as if the fantasy I'd built wasn't enough to shield me from reality. My adrenaline surged into panic. What if Logan came to find me? What if he pressed charges? What if I'd ruined everything irreparably? By evening, I was stranded in the hotel lobby, tears streaming down my face. Every scenario in my mind ended the same way. Me, alone, humiliated, trapped by my own decisions. Tyler tried to calm me, but his reassurances sounded hollow. Even to me, when I finally got in touch with my sister Naomi, it was too late. Logan had already called her, explaining the situation. She was furious, not at him, but at me. I felt a crushing shame as she told me I had made a terrible mistake. And now I needed to figure out how to get home safely. In the cab, back from Naomi's apartment, I stared out the window, heart racing and mind spinning. Logan's words, Tyler's concerned glances, Naomi's disappointment, they all collided in my head. I realized, with a sickening clarity, that I had crossed a line. The line between excitement and betrayal, between thrill and recklessness. For the first time, I felt the full weight of my choices. Logan wasn't just a boyfriend. He had trusted me with his life, his money, his home, and I had exploited that trust for my selfish desires. By the time I reached Naomi's couch, I was physically and emotionally exhausted. Every text I sent to Logan went unanswered. Every thought of reconciliation seemed impossible. I had wanted to feel prioritized, alive, and special, but instead, I had destroyed the trust that had grounded me for years. Sitting there, I finally allowed myself to cry, not from fear, but from the bitter realization of my own recklessness. And deep down, I knew that this weekend wasn't just a fleeting thrill, it was a turning point, one I could never undo. The flight back to Chicago felt endless. Every mile closer to home made my stomach knot tighter. I had hoped, foolishly, that maybe Logan would just understand. Maybe he'd see my side. Maybe he'd forgive me. But deep down, I knew I was kidding myself when I finally arrived at O'Hare. Naomi had already arranged for me to take a rideshare to her apartment. Her gaze was sharp, disappointed, and I felt smaller than I had in years. "Sabrina, you need to face the consequences," she said gently but firmly. "You used Logan's money. You lied. You can't just waltz back like nothing happened." I nodded mutely, too ashamed to argue. Her words were a mirror, reflecting the truth I had been avoiding. I had betrayed someone who loved me, and now I had to pay the price. The drive to Logan's apartment felt surreal. I tried to prepare myself mentally, rehearsing what I would say, how I would apologize. But as I stood outside the door, key in hand, reality hit me like a wave. The locks had been changed. My key wouldn't turn. Panic surged through me, chest tightening so badly I thought I might faint. I knocked. I called Logan's number. Nothing. Each unanswered attempt made my stomach churn. For the first time, I truly understood what fear felt like: the cold, hollow feeling of being shut out, of losing control over the life I had taken for granted. Naomi, who had come along to witness, tried to console me, but I could see the disappointment in her eyes too. "This is what happens when you betray trust, Sabrina. You can't just expect forgiveness without consequences." I slumped against the door, tears streaming freely. All the excitement, all the thrill I had felt with Tyler evaporated, replaced by shame, regret, and a deep, gnawing sense of loss. Our apartment, once familiar and comforting, now felt alien-like, a museum of mistakes. I thought about Logan, how calm, how methodical he had been while handling the credit card, freezing accounts, protecting himself. How he had removed me from everything, step by step, without ever losing control. And me. I had been reckless, selfish, and naive. Naomi helped me collect my things from my own apartment, a surreal experience. Every item packed into boxes, each bag a reminder of what I had jeopardized. Logan watched silently from inside, his expression unreadable, yet I could feel the disappointment radiating through the walls. "Take responsibility," Naomi said as we loaded the last box into her car. "You caused this. Own it." I nodded, too broken to speak. I realized then that my fantasy of being special with Tyler had blinded me. I had been chasing excitement, trying to feel alive, but I had trampled on trust, loyalty, and love. And in the end, I was left with nothing but my own mistakes. As the car drove away, I looked back at the apartment tower home, our shared life now locked, inaccessible. A sob escaped me. For the first time, I truly understood the weight of betrayal, and I knew that moving forward, nothing would ever be the same. The days after the Austin debacle were surreal. Logan moved quickly, methodically, taking steps to protect himself from any further damage. The apartment, once a shared space of comfort and routine, felt like his sanctuary again. He repainted the walls, organized his office, and slowly reclaimed control over his life. Friends came over, checking in, bringing laughter and distraction back into the apartment. Meanwhile, my world was unraveling. The Facebook post I had hastily written to justify myself had exploded beyond anything I imagined. Friends, co-workers, and even Logan's acquaintances questioned everything. Comments ranged from disbelief to outrage. My reputation, which I had carefully built as a freelancer, was now tarnished. Clients called, expressing concern over being associated with someone embroiled in public drama. Within a week, several contracts were suspended, and eventually, my marketing agency terminated my assignments. For the first time, I understood the full consequences of my actions. I wasn't just dealing with Logan's anger or betrayal, had burned bridges in every direction. Even Tyler, who had seemed so exciting and supportive, blocked me on every platform after his wife confronted him. The fantasy I had clung to so desperately crumbled completely. Sitting alone in Naomi's living room, I finally allowed myself to confront the truth. I had been selfish, reckless, and manipulative. I had exploited someone's trust for a fleeting thrill. No excuses could erase that. Tears flowed freely as I thought about Logan, how calm, reasonable, and careful he had been throughout the chaos. And me. I had been a storm of impulsive choices and lies. Weeks passed, and I tried to rebuild. Therapy helped, at least partially, to untangle why I sabotaged a good relationship and sought validation in dangerous ways. Naomi was supportive but firm, reminding me that understanding my mistakes was only the first step. Action and accountability were next. Logan, meanwhile, flourished. With Sabrina out of the picture, he reclaimed his life, finances, and peace of mind. He spent more time with friends, focused on work, and even embarked on small adventures he had always postponed. Slowly, he allowed himself to trust again, not blindly, but cautiously, with new people who respected boundaries and contributed equally to the relationship. One day, I received a letter from him. It was handwritten, formal, yet surprisingly calm. He didn't express anger or bitterness, only acknowledgement of what had happened. I forgive you in the sense that I accept reality, but I will never forget or trust blindly again, he wrote. Reading it, I felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. Relief that he hadn't vilified me in public. Sorrow that our relationship was truly over. In time, I started to rebuild my own life, taking freelance work carefully, learning to set boundaries, and reflecting on my patterns of behavior. It was humbling. Every step forward reminded me of the lessons I had learned the hard way. Trust is sacred. Respect is earned, and thrill-seeking at someone else's expense is never worth it. Logan, on the other hand, had found peace. The apartment was his again, quiet and comforting. Friends visited more often, laughter returned, and he even started dating someone new, independent, confident, and respectful of his boundaries. He seemed genuinely happy, and seeing that, even from afar, made me realize that his life had moved on without me, and, deservedly so. The chaos, the heartbreak, and the mistakes had created a lasting mark. But ultimately, it taught us both something vital. Logan learned that trusting instincts and protecting oneself is essential, while I learned that actions have consequences far beyond immediate gratification. As for Tyler, Logan's vigilance had exposed him, and his fantasy romance disintegrated. It was a harsh reality check for everyone involved, and so life went on. Logan rebuilt, flourished, and found happiness grounded in reality and mutual respect. I reflected, grew, and faced the consequences of my recklessness. Both of us had moved forward, one with peace, the other with lessons learned painfully but profoundly. It was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. And for Logan, finally, the apartment and his life felt like his own again.